Ross Brawn breaking his silence about Lewis Hamilton isn't just another headline. It's a strategic alarm bell that forces everyone to listen, and I want to explain why that matters to you as a fan. You know Ross Brawn, architect, strategist, the man behind championship structures who has seen drivers and teams at both their best and worst. When he frames a driver's future as depending more on the team than on the driver himself, that's not a casual hot take, it's a diagnosis. Over the past weeks, we watched Hamilton endure a season that he himself has called the worst of his career, culminating in a painful Las Vegas weekend that exposed more than a few weaknesses. Brawn didn't offer excuses for Lewis, and he didn't sugarcoat the facts. Instead, he laid out a blunt argument. Hamilton can absolutely still succeed at Ferrari, but only if the team uses the upcoming technical reset to build the environment he needs. That line, "It depends on the team, not the driver," is the heart of his message, and it's what turns this from a story about one man into a story about an organization with a ticking clock. Before we go deeper, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, vote in our quick poll. Do you think Brawn is right to put the responsibility on Ferrari? Type yes or no, and tell us why in one sentence. Also, if you're enjoying this breakdown, please subscribe and help Fast News F1 reach our goal of 2,000 subscribers. Your support lets us keep digging into the stories that matter. Now, why did Brawn's voice hit so hard? Because he's the kind of figure who's built dynasties by anticipating rule changes and building teams that could execute under pressure. When someone with that track record looks at Hamilton at 40 and says the driver isn't the limiting factor, you have to sit up and reframe the whole narrative. In short, this isn't about saying Lewis is broken. It's about saying Ferrari's structure, process and car are the things that need fixing. That will be the next chapter of our video, where we unpack exactly what Brawn sees as the core issues in Maranello and why those problems explain the results you've been seeing all season. Hamilton's season starts to make a lot more sense once you look at it through Ross Brawn's eyes, because he isn't focused on the spins, the missed podiums, or the emotional radio messages. He's looking at the underlying structure, and when you break down his comments, you see a pattern that points directly at systemic weaknesses inside Ferrari. Brawn acknowledged the obvious. A driver of Hamilton's caliber doesn't suddenly forget how to perform. What he sees instead is a team that hasn't given Lewis a consistent, predictable environment where he can extract his best. Think about the way Ferrari's weekends have unfolded this year. One session looks promising, the next collapses. Tyre warm-up is unpredictable from track to track, and qualifying swings between encouraging and disastrous. Those aren't the signs of a driver struggling with adaptation. They're the signs of a team that hasn't nailed its processes. Brawn didn't need to spell that out word for word. The subtext was loud enough. From his perspective, the team's inconsistency is the real story. When a team can't give the driver a stable platform, execution falls apart under pressure. And that's exactly what we've seen at Ferrari multiple times. Brawn has lived through the building of a championship culture, and he knows the difference between a team in transition and a team without a clear internal rhythm. Ferrari's issues go beyond raw pace. They show up in delayed adjustments, strategic hesitation, and moments where no one seems fully aligned. When Hamilton missed out in Las Vegas and looked physically drained afterward, Brawn didn't blame it on age or decline. Instead, he saw a driver carrying the burden of an unstructured project. He's seen it before, a team trying to evolve without having the internal clarity to support a champion. What makes this even sharper is the tension within Ferrari's leadership. When the chairman publicly suggested drivers should talk less, it sent a signal that frustration should stay behind closed doors. Brawn pushed back on that mindset. For him, openness isn't weakness. It's a sign the system needs attention. His message was simple. When a driver speaks honestly, he's not destabilizing the team. He's highlighting the cracks. That's a cultural critique as much as a technical one. And it's exactly why Brawn's words landed like a warning shot aimed at Maranello's command structure. Before moving on, I want to hear your take. If you could change just one thing inside Ferrari's operation right now, what would it be? Drop your answer in the comments, and let's see what the community thinks. And while you're here, remember to subscribe and enable notifications. Your support truly matters, and it helps push Fast News F1 toward our goal of 2,000 subscribers. Up next, we're going to break down why Brawn believes the entire Hamilton-Ferrari project now hinges on the 2026 regulations, and why that reset might be their last real chance. The reason Ross Brawn placed so much weight on 2026 is because regulation resets don't just shuffle the competitive order, they redefine it. And when someone like Brawn, who built an era of domination by anticipating a rule change, says Hamilton's revival depends on this next reset, he's pointing to a moment that could make or break Ferrari's entire project. The 2026 regulations are not small tweaks. They will reshape aerodynamics, power unit philosophy, and energy deployment systems, forcing every team to rethink how they design, develop, and operate a Formula One car. This means that Ferrari is about to face the most significant technical challenge of the decade, one that will require absolute precision and a level of internal coordination they've struggled to show lately. Brawn knows exactly how transformative these resets can be because he lived it. In 2014, Mercedes didn't just show up with a fast car. They arrived with a machine that rewrote what dominance looked like. Behind that was Brawn's strategic insistence that the team invest early, commit fully, and treat the regulation change as an opportunity rather than a risk. Now, he sees Hamilton at Ferrari on the eve of a similarly seismic shift. And his message is clear. If Ferrari gets 2026 right, Hamilton's championship window reopens. If they get it wrong, there may not be another reset soon enough to save the project. What adds pressure is the paddock chatter that some teams may already be ahead. Rumours point to Mercedes working aggressively on energy deployment and Red Bull exploring radical aerodynamic concepts. Ferrari, meanwhile, is deep into Project 678, but the confidence around it is nowhere near unanimous. The uncertainty is visible, and Hamilton himself hinted at concern by admitting he wasn't looking forward to next season. To Brawn, that wasn't just an emotional slip. It was a sign that the driver sees the storm gathering and fears the team might not be ready. For Brawn, the 2026 reset is Ferrari's chance to start with a clean slate. No more excuses about adaptation, no more uneven weekends defined by tyre issues or execution errors. This is the moment where technical direction, culture, and leadership will either converge or fracture. And with Hamilton approaching the final stretch of his career, the timeline is brutally unforgiving. Ferrari cannot take 3 years to get this package right. They need to deliver immediately, because Hamilton's championship-level performances depend on having a car capable of matching his intent from the opening races of the new era. Before we move to the next chapter, let me put the question to you directly. Do you believe Ferrari will nail the 2026 regulations? Vote with a simple yes or no in the comments, and tell me why. And if you're finding this breakdown useful, subscribe and activate notifications to help Fast News F1 reach our goal of 2,000 subscribers. Coming up next, we're going to shift the focus to Hamilton himself and explore how this difficult season has affected him mentally, emotionally, and competitively. And why Brawn felt the need to defend him so publicly. Lewis Hamilton has never been a driver who hides what he's feeling, but this season has exposed a level of emotional strain that even longtime fans weren't expecting. When he said this was the worst season of his career, it wasn't an exaggeration or a dramatic flourish. You could see the weight on his shoulders every weekend. The disappointment in qualifying, the exhaustion after long runs, the frustration that crept into his voice, even when he tried to hide it. And then came the moment that truly shook the paddock. Hamilton openly admitting he wasn't looking forward to next year. For a competitor who built his legacy on resilience, hunger, and relentless belief, that statement felt like a flashing red warning light. Ross Brawn recognized that immediately. He has watched Hamilton through every phase of his career, from the raw pace he showed early on to the calm, unshakable confidence of his championship years. And because of that, Brawn understands the signs of a driver who's carrying more than just on-track disappointment. He saw a psychological toll building, and his comments weren't just analysis, they were a quiet intervention. Brawn defended Hamilton's openness, pushing back against the idea that drivers should stay silent or hide their frustrations. In his view, honesty isn't harmful. It's necessary, especially in a team environment where performance issues can get lost in a haze of optimism and PR-friendly messaging. That's where Brawn pushed hardest. He wanted Ferrari to understand that Hamilton's emotions aren't the problem. The underlying issues causing those emotions are the problem. When a driver reaches a point where he has to deny rumors of retiring, it means something deeper is happening. It means the environment around him isn't giving him confidence. Hamilton isn't losing motivation. He's losing trust in a project that hasn't delivered what he was promised. And at 40 years old, trust matters more than ever, because every season is precious. There were moments this year, flashes in Mexico, a glimpse in Austin, that showed Hamilton still has the raw speed that defines his greatness. But moments aren't enough. A champion needs momentum, rhythm, and a team that can execute under pressure. And right now, Ferrari hasn't been able to give him that foundation. Brawn's message served as a reminder that Hamilton still has everything needed to fight for victories, but only if the team rebuilds the environment around him before it's too late. Before we move to the final chapter, I want your perspective. Do you think Hamilton can bounce back mentally if Ferrari gives him the right car, or has the constant pressure taken too much of a toll? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Your support helps Fast News F1 reach our goal of 2,000 subscribers and keeps content like this coming. Next, we'll look at what Ferrari must do from this point forward, and why these next steps might be the most important decisions the team makes for years. Ferrari now stands at a crossroads, and Ross Brawn's message forces them to confront a reality they can no longer afford to avoid. His words were not emotional, not dramatic, and not designed for headlines. They were measured, sharp, and rooted in decades of building winning teams. And the core of his point is simple. Ferrari must change, not Hamilton. Everything from their technical structure to their weekend execution to their internal culture needs to evolve if they want this partnership to succeed. Otherwise, they risk wasting the final championship-level years of one of the greatest drivers that sport has ever seen. The first thing Ferrari must address is consistency. Not speed, not ambition, not passion. Consistency. This season has shown that the team can produce flashes of brilliance, but cannot sustain them. One weekend looks strong, the next collapses. That instability seeps into every part of the operation. It affects Hamilton's confidence, strategy calls, tyre preparation, long-run performance, and even the emotions inside the garage. Brawn's critique was aimed directly at that foundation. A champion cannot build momentum when the ground is constantly shifting beneath him. The second change Ferrari must make is cultural. When leadership responds to driver frustration by telling them to talk less, it signals a misunderstanding of what creates strong teams. Champions don't need silence. They need clarity, honesty, and shared responsibility. Brawn defended Hamilton's openness because he knows that transparent communication is essential when a project is veering off course. Ferrari must decide whether they want a culture that hides problems or a culture that fixes them. Only the latter wins championships. Then comes the technical challenge, and it is enormous. The 2026 regulations will demand innovation on a scale that separates contenders from hopefuls. Aerodynamics, power units, energy deployment, chassis design, suspension philosophy, it all resets. Brawn understands that the teams who will dominate in the next era are already deep into development. If Ferrari lag even slightly, the opportunity disappears for years. Hamilton cannot wait for a long-term rebuild. At this stage of his career, Ferrari must deliver immediately. That's the pressure and the urgency behind Brawn's warning. What makes this moment so delicate is that Hamilton still has the ability to lead Ferrari into a new era. His experience, his work ethic, his technical understanding and his resilience are all intact. But none of that matters if the structure around him isn't strong enough to amplify those qualities. Ferrari has the facilities, the resources and the talent to turn this into a success story. But they must align their ambition with execution. They must turn the flashes of potential into sustained performance. And they must treat 2023 as the defining moment of the Hamilton era. Brawn's perspective reframes the entire conversation. Hamilton isn't declining, he's being underserved, and if Ferrari take that message seriously, they can still give him the platform he needs to write a final chapter worthy of his legacy. The window is still open, but it's narrowing fast. Time is the one thing Hamilton cannot get back. Before we move to the final chapter, I'd love to hear from you. If you were leading Ferrari right now, what is the single biggest change you would make first? Structure, culture, or technical direction? Share your answer in the comments. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and enable notifications. Your support helps Fast News F1 reach our goal of 2,000 subscribers and ensures you never miss these deep dive breakdowns. Up next, we'll bring everything together and reveal why Brawn's comments may be the most important wake-up call Ferrari has received in years.